911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everybody, how are you guys? It's good to see all of you. How's everybody doing? Lots to talk about tonight. But it's good to see all of you. It's been kind of busy. We've been kind of busy, guys. This working out thing. It's interesting. I'm a mess. Well, enjoy CJK. I hope you have a good time. Yeah, Hiawatha, it sure was. Hey, Mitzi Scott, how are you? Hello, Danger Dave, how are you? Hi, Miranda Lee. Hi, Sees Through, how are you? Hey, Sharon, good to see you. Hey, Melissa. Hi, Jill, how are you? Hey, David, how are you? Hey, John, good to see you, my dear. Sure, butterfly kisses, you may chill here. Hi, This'll do nicely. How are you? Hey, Charlotte. Good to see you too. Hey, Dandy Lioness. It's good to see you. Oh, Dave, you are so nice. I don't feel like it. I feel like I'm a sweaty mess. But hey, I'm here, right? Hey, Paris. Good to see you. It's good to see everyone. It's been a minute. So we're going to talk about the prosecution responded in Delphi. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm sure that most of you already know, but we're still going to talk about it. True, Dave. I guess that's true. And we're going to talk about that. There was quite a few motions that were on the books for Delphi this past couple days. So we're going to talk about that. And we are also going to talk about the Suzanne Morphew case. Obviously, everyone's probably heard by now, but they found Suzanne last Friday and she was identified yesterday. And so we're going to get into that. As everyone who has been with my channel from pretty much the beginning knows that this case is a huge case for our good friend Real GonZo. I did post GonZo's short that he did yesterday on the announcement, and I just want everyone to know that he spent hours upon hours searching for her and giving to that family and to her brother and those in that community in all of his spare time. So my love and respect goes out to GonZo tonight. I know that this is bittersweet for him. I know he's thankful, as we all are, that they have found her and maybe justice can prevail. But I know that it's a heavy heart for him as well. Happy birthday, Dave. She went, hey, Tech Death, good to see you, my dear. She went missing on Mother's Day 2020, Melissa. So she's been missing for 3 years. And we're going to go over all of that. We're going to also talk about the arrest in another cold case yesterday. There was an arrest in the cold case of Crystal Rogers. And she went missing back in 2015, and they arrested Brooks Hauk yesterday morning, and we're going to go over that as well. So that's the plans for tonight, and I just wanted to give everybody a heads up as to where we are on this whole shenanigans. God. So anyway, Dave, I hope you have a good birthday. I hope you don't have to go out and work, but I bet you do, don't you? There's been a lot of things that have been the other thing I wanted to bring up real quick. There's also been a development in the John Benet Ramsey case. They have had a change in the law enforcement, the police department in Boulder. And it seems like this may be in a very, may turn out to be very good for this case, because they are currently testing 5 pieces of evidence that was never tested. And the reason, from my understanding, as to why these 5 items were never tested in her case was because there was such a minute amount of DNA on them. They were afraid that they would use it all up in the testing. Well, we now know that DNA testing has come a long, long way since then. And so they are testing this stuff. So hopefully that's going to lead them to a perpetrator in this case. My hope is that they get a really clean DNA profile, that they can maybe search, if it doesn't happen to be in CODIS, that they can actually search genetic genealogy and hopefully work backwards and find this person. JonBenét needs to have justice. It has been too long for that case, and she deserves justice. The family deserves justice for this little girl. Hey, Polygraph, good to see you. Hey, Stephanie, how are you? Good to see you. So, yeah. Well, let's get in it. Let me pull up something here. So, there was an objection filed by the state, by the prosecutor's office, in response to the defense 134-page memorandum. Hey, True Crime with Frank Meister, how are you? So good to see you. So good to see you. So glad you're here. So the state objected to the 134-page memorandum by the defense. I don't think there was going to be any surprise to that. But I was going to go through that with you tonight. And basically what they said was, now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland and respectfully objects to the defendant's amended motion to suppress and would ask the court to deny the same, and in support of said motion states the following. Number one, that on May 19th, 2023, the defendant filed a motion to suppress the evidence seized as a result of the search warrant executed on the home of the defendant. Number two, that on September 13th, 2023, the defendant filed an amended motion to suppress the evidence seized as a result of the search warrant executed on the home of the defendant. Number three, that the defense alleges that the search warrant is unconstitutional because the issuance of the search warrant was a result of an improper ex parte application, in that the affiant, Sheriff Tony Liggett, failed to advise the judge of material facts and made false and misleading representations with reckless disregard for the truth, and that without these false and misleading representations and omissions, the search warrant would not have been issued. Number four, this is commonly referred to as Faxx versus Delaware, argument from Faxx versus Delaware, 438 U.S. 154 from 1978. Number five, that per the Faxx case, the defense's attack must be based on deliberate falsehood or act of reckless disregard for the truth, and those allegations must be accompanied by an offer of proof, that the claim should point out specifically the portion of the warrant affidavit that is claimed to be false, accompanied by a statement of supporting reasons, that further this should be supported by affidavits or sworn statements or other reliable statements from witnesses, or an explanation for their absence. Number six, that the defense has filed such a memorandum outlining their beliefs of what was omitted and false. Number seven, that once again, while the memorandum is colorful, dramatic, and highly unprofessional, it is not completely true. Number eight, that the state believes the allegations outlined by the defense are not supported by evidence that they have collected. Number nine, that Sheriff Tony Liggett did not intentionally or recklessly omit evidence or lie about evidence in the probable cause affidavit to support the search warrant. Number 10, that the defense who alleges that the search warrant was unreasonable under the Indiana and federal Constitution in that it lacked probable cause, that it failed to establish that the items to be seized were in the residence or could be expected to be in the residence, that the affidavit failed to provide particular information that the particular items related to the particular crime would be found in the home, and that the affidavit failed to connect generic items to actual items that were possibly used in the crime. Number 11, that in September of 2022, while reviewing the evidence in the investigation into the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, investigators discovered an interview that was done with Richard Allen in 2017 by Indiana Conservation Officer Dan Doolin. Number 12, that in the 2017 interview, Richard Allen admitted being on the trail that day that Abigail Williams and Liberty German went missing. Number 13, that he stated that he was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m., and that while he was on the trail, he was using his phone. Number 14, that on October 13th, 2022, investigators invited Richard Allen and his wife, Kathy Allen, to speak to them and follow up on that interview done in 2017. Number 15, that both Richard Allen and Kathy Allen came to the interview on their own on October 13th, 2022. They were not under arrest and were free to leave the interview at any time. That investigators, number 16, learned from those interviews that Richard Allen reaffirmed that he was in fact on the trails that day, that Abigail Williams and Liberty German went missing, and further admitted to being on the High Bridge. Number 17, that he also told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood, and that he was wearing a head covering. Number 18, that further Richard stated that he did own guns and that the guns were in his home. Number 19, that investigators learned from Kathy that Richard Allen still had guns and knives in the home, along with a blue Carhartt jacket. Number 20, that investigators believed a firearm was involved in the abduction and murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German because an unspent .40 caliber round was found between the bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. 21, that investigators believed a knife was used in the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Number 22, that the clothes that Richard Allen described wearing the day he was on the trails matched the description of the man seen on the bridge from the video taken by Liberty German's phone. Number 23, that it was also gathered that Richard Allen still possessed the firearms, knives, and clothing, and said items were in his house. Number 24, that based on this information, investigators prepared a probable cause affidavit with a search warrant for the home of Richard Allen. Number 25, that the probable cause affidavit covers all the information that law enforcement had gathered in the investigation in regards to Richard Allen up until October 13th, 2022. Number 26, that the probable cause affidavit outlines evidence that established probable cause to search the home of Richard Allen. Number 27, that investigators applied for the search warrant on October 13th, 2022, and the same was granted that day by Carroll County Circuit Court Judge Benjamin Diener. Investigators went to the residence of the defendant located at 1967 North Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Indiana, knocked on the door and executed the search warrant on October 13th, 2022. Number 29, the defendant and his wife were asked to be out of the residence while the search warrant was executed, but were allowed back in the residence immediately afterwards. Number 30, investigators found several items in the residence, including a .40 caliber firearm and electronic devices, all of which are outlined in the search warrant return. Number 31, that for a search warrant to be valid, it must be accompanied by an affidavit that establishes probable cause, which is a sufficient basis of fact that exists to permit a reasonably prudent person to believe that a search of the premises will uncover evidence of a crime. Esquerdo versus State, 640 Northeast 2D 1029. That Indiana Code 35-33-5-2 specifies the minimum information necessary to establish probable cause, which is as follows. A, information particularly describing the house or place to be searched and the things to be searched for. B, information allegedly substantially the offense in relation thereto, and that the affiant believes and has good cause to believe that the things sought are concealed in that place that they are attempting to search, or the person to be arrested committed the offense described. And C, information setting forth the facts known to the affiant through personal knowledge or based on hearsay constituting probable cause. Number 33, that under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, the evidence needed to obtain a search warrant need not arise to the statute of facts necessary to obtain a conviction. The circumstances alleged in the affidavit need only lead a person of reasonable caution to believe that a crime has been committed. Chambers versus State, Indiana, 1989. Number 34, that when the sufficiency of the search warrant is challenged under the Fourth Amendment by the defendant, as it is the defendant's motion, the role of the reviewing court is to simply ensure that there was substantial basis for finding probable cause, reminding itself that it owes great deference to the initial probable cause determination and will not invalidate a warrant by interpreting probable cause affidavits in a hyper-technical rather than a common sense manner. Watkins versus State, Indiana, 2017. Number 35, that under Article 1, Section 2 of the Indiana Constitution, the reasonableness of search is determined by using the Litchfield test, which looks at the totality of the circumstances and requires consideration of both the degree of intrusion into the subject's ordinary activities and the basis upon which the officer selected the subject of the search or seizure. Litchfield versus State. Number 36, that the inquiry requires a balancing of the degree of concern, suspicion, or knowledge, and that a violation has occurred. The degree of intrusion, the method of the search or seizure, imposes on the citizen's ordinary activities and the extent of law enforcement needs. Litchfield versus State. Number 37, that the state believes that the affidavit does meet the threshold to establish probable cause under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, in that there was a substantial basis for finding probable cause, and there was a high likelihood based on the evidence that investigators had that there was evidence of the crime in the home of Richard Allen. Number 38, that the state believes that the affidavit accompanied with the search warrant for the home of Richard Allen does establish probable cause under Article 1, Section 11 of the Indiana Constitution and does pass the Litchfield test for reasonableness under the totality of the circumstances. Number 39, that the state believes that the affidavit establishes the items to be seized were in the residence by statements made by Richard Allen and his wife, Kathy Allen. Number 40, that the state believes that the affidavit provides particular information, that particular items related to a particular crime will be found in the home based on the statements made by Richard Allen and his wife, Kathy Allen. Number 41, that the state believes that the affidavit connects generic items to actual items that were possibly used in the crime based on the investigators' evidence that they gathered throughout the investigation. Number 42, that the evidence that was gathered in 2017 was reaffirmed by the interview done with Richard Allen and his wife, Kathy Allen, on October 13th, 2022. Number 43, investigators believed that at the time that they had enough probable cause to apply for a search warrant, Investigators also believed that if they did not execute a search warrant on the residence immediately, that there was a danger that the defendant would destroy crucial evidence in the investigation. The investigators believed through their training and experience that there was a real chance that the defendant would destroy evidence once he knew he was a suspect in the crime. Wherefore, the state has shown that the actions of the officers were valid and justified and did not violate the defendant's Fourth Amendment under the United States Constitution or Article 1, Section 11 of the Indiana Constitution, and therefore the motion to suppress should be denied. Respectfully submitted, Nicholas C. McClelland, attorney, prosecuting attorney. So that was a lot, you guys. There's a lot in there, but basically what the state is saying is, and what I thought was just real interesting, was number 7, when Nick McClelland references the memorandum that was the 134 pages that the defense sent to the court regarding suppression, stated that it was colorful, dramatic, and highly unprofessional, and that it is not completely true. Highly unprofessional, I would completely agree with. I've done some research since I last saw you guys, and have talked to a number of sources in law enforcement as well as in the judiciary. And one thing is clear. When you bring forth a suppression motion, it shouldn't be 134 pages long. First of all, it's unheard of. This was completely out of left field. The suppression document should be extremely straightforward and basically bulleted, and it shouldn't be a 134-page narrative of what your defense of Richard Allen is going to look like. And that's not a suppression document. And again, as I told you guys back when we discussed this after this all broke, I gave you my opinion that I felt they were bypassing a gag order by doing what they did. And I still firmly believe that. And so do my sources that I spoke with. They said this was their way to lay out to the public what the defense of Richard Allen is going to be, and to plant reasonable doubt. And to plant reasonable doubt in the minds of future jurors in this case, and also to potentially cause an uproar, which happened on social media. As stated before, I know for an absolute fact that there are content creators that are assisting the defense in this case, and it does not surprise me one bit, because that document that I read almost verbatim is some of the things that these content creators have written about, have spoken about, have commented on, and made videos on, almost verbatim. So it's just, like I said, ridiculous to me. But I found that interesting because he didn't go into a huge diatribe about why the memorandum was false and not factual. And he didn't go into all of, why. He basically just bulleted it and said, it's colorful, it's dramatic, it's highly unprofessional, and it is not completely true. And that's all he needed to say. The prosecution is not going to try this case in motions, and the defense is trying to. And that's the way I see this. Now, with all of that critique of the defense, you expect the defense to defend their client, and this is the only defense they have. This is the way I see it. They don't have a defense of Richard Allen. This is the only defense that they can come. This is the only way that they can actually come about even trying to defend him, because he put himself on the bridge. He put himself on the bridge at the time that the girls were abducted. He put himself on the bridge wearing the exact same clothes that multiple witnesses saw him in. Not only the video that Libby took has him wearing. We can address in a number of different ways of why eyewitnesses see things different. But if you basically look at what the eyewitnesses saw, they all saw the same guy. They may have got a color of a coat wrong. They may have even gotten a type of coat wrong. We don't know yet. From what the prosecution has said, they didn't get those things wrong. The defense brought all that out in their motion or in their memorandum. I want to call it, it's a memorandum. It was supposed to be a suppression motion, but it was like, I mean, it's just, it is a proofreading nightmare. It is the most unprofessional. Hey, Derek, how are you? It's so good to see you. It is the most unprofessional typed court motion I have ever seen. In all the time I've been covering cases and looking at court documents and things, I'm just like, I don't know who typed this thing up, but if they're a law clerk, they need to go back to school, because there is a thing called online called spell checking and thesaurus. You can, both of those things go a long way into, making sense. But the things that were wrong and misdone in that document are it's just crazy. But I definitely feel that document was all about emotion. It was dramatic, but it was dramatic to to draw out people's emotion, to make people feel a certain way. And that's why the crime scene was so ridiculously described, in my opinion. I mean, over and over and over again, they kept telling us about the slow death of Abby. And I mean, I can't even, I'd have to go back and count how many times they say that in that document, but it's way, way, way overkill. And not only is it overkill, but it is so hurtful and painful to have to read. I read this document. I read it out loud to True Crime Maria as soon as I got it. And I'm not kidding you. It was hard to read it over and over and over, hearing these kinds of things. I can only imagine. And really, I can't even imagine how this must make the families feel. I just can't. And I know that bad things are going to come out in this case that nobody wants to hear, especially them. But they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do any of that in a court. Hey, Purdue RN, how are you, my dear? So good to see you. There's just so many things that are wrong with what they did. They name names. They actually, I hope they've got some sort of evidence that proves this, because if not, the people that they name in that memorandum could sue big time. I mean, it's like we talk about doxing people online. I just can't even imagine, they put this out there and then they allowed it. They allowed it, guys. This wasn't an accident. This didn't go out on the airwaves so that certain people were able to download this. It wasn't an accident. This doesn't happen accidentally. It was done on purpose. They wanted it out there and they wanted people to look at it and they wanted to get it, the narrative out there. And boy, did it. Because not only did we as content creators start talking about it and making videos about it, but it's all over the press. Court TV picked up on it. Law and Crime TV Network picked up on it. And every major network that's been covering Delphi picked up on it. So they did their damage. They've already done the damage. What I was happy about this week is that Nick McClelland came back with an answer and he made it short, sweet, and simple. And he stuck to the facts of what they've said all along. He tried, the defense tried to paint Mr. Doolin as a complete incompetent. And again, I'm so tired of that. I mean, it's like, where's your proof? They talk about it, but they didn't show any proof of this. And according to the law in Indiana, when you are filing a motion to suppress, you actually have to show proof of what you're claiming. I want to see the proof of where these 5 individuals are. Where's the proof that they were even in Delphi that day? I know for a fact that the number one person they're accusing has an alibi. He was at work. So, I mean, it's just, this is the kind of stuff that can really hurt a case before it goes to trial. And that's another thing that they were hoping for, in my opinion. And so we're just going to have to see where that falls, you guys. The other motion that was filed was the state's response to the defendant's motion for broadcasting order. And the defense, has already said that they want to have cameras in the courtroom. And it sounded like in this memorandum or motion by the response motion by the prosecution that they really don't want cameras in the courtroom. But I don't necessarily believe that. I think that he was bringing things to light that Fran Gull, the judge in this case, needs to be aware of. And we all have to remember that she is one of the judges in the state of Indiana that actually piloted the program for having cameras in the courtroom. And I have a feeling she's going to weigh in on this. And I don't really see her not allowing it. I think I would be super surprised if she doesn't. I'm for cameras in the courtroom because I think the transparency that we get in our court proceedings is important. And we didn't ever have that opportunity back, in the day, so to speak. And yes, can it get out of hand if the court does not keep a close eye and handle on it? Of course. Is it important that news media and the folks who are utilizing the cameras follow the court's orders? Absolutely. If they don't follow the court's orders, should they be removed? Yes, I agree with all of that. but I don't see it as being a detriment to the case. People say, well, when you have a camera in the courtroom, the attorneys and the judge and all the players, including the witnesses and everything, will be playing to the camera rather than, playing to the case. That may be true. That could very, very well be true. But it still goes to the fact that it's hard to deny things that happen on camera. And when you don't have to have someone transcribing in shorthand what happened in court that day and then run back out as a reporter and report back to someone who's also typing it out, the chance for error and misrepresentation, not on purpose by any sense of the word, is there. And to me, it's just easier for everyone else to make up their own mind by watching the proceedings themselves than have someone else tell you what transpired that day. I've talked to you guys before, not only when I covered the O.J. Simpson case, but I've talked about the O.J. Simpson case many times on my channel because that was the first big, huge case that was covered with cameras in the courtroom, and it was a nightmare. Am I glad that it was covered? Yes. Was it handled properly? No. But I feel like Judge Ito had his hand. I mean, he didn't know. He'd never done this before. It had never been done before. So it was kind of like, a huge issue. And it was a learning curve for everyone. I feel he could have done things so much differently to keep it from becoming a circus. I know that that's what we don't want to see in the Delphi case. I just, like I said, the court can keep all of that from happening. What goes on outside the courtroom, in the hallways and out on the streets, that's a different thing. That's a different story. I told you guys, they actually had acrobatic performers and circus performers outside of the courthouse for OJ's trial because it was such a long time. The trial, took all those months, almost nearly 9 months. And that was a lot of time for these people that stood outside the courthouse every single day. So they had food trucks and they had entertainment for the people. They had brought in entertainment or allowed it to happen to keep people entertained. Now, do I think that's something that should go on? No, I do not think that that's something that should be allowed to go on. So that's kind of where it is. I don't necessarily feel the prosecution is against the cameras. I feel they want the judge to be aware of the things that that could happen from it. And there's a lot of language that happens in court, but I think what is concerning to the prosecution is that the defense counsel is going to play to the cameras. They're going to use the inflammatory language that they've been using in their pleadings, including statements that are simply not true. But we as the public have no way of knowing that. There is no reason to think, as Nick McClellan said in the motion, that they will not continue to do that. He thinks that they're using superfluous language in court designed as sound bites for recording on the national stage. And so he used as an example the language used by the defense, describing the conditions under which Richard Allen was being forced to live under and endure at Westville Correctional, are akin to that of a prisoner of war. Again, that is highly inflammatory to compare that. And I'm sure that the prisoners of war out there completely and utterly disagree with that statement. But it served its purpose. And then he addresses again the 136-page memorandum for the Faxx hearing, in which only 13 pages refers to any allegations that are relevant to the question of a Faxx inquiry. Like I said, and I got this from my judge and from my sources in the judiciary, that found it absolutely ridiculous that 90% of this memorandum outlines its fanciful defense for social media to devour, which is exactly what they wanted, and it's exactly what we did. I will admit I took a step back. I didn't read it online. I didn't go over verbatim what the crime scene is described as, because the more I thought about it and realized that this was not information that we needed right now, and it doesn't need to be out there right now. And so I made that decision for myself and my channel. Again, keeping in mind the families and the fact that I don't want to hurt them any more than they're already being hurt in this god-awful circus of, I call it Delphiville, because it's exactly what it feels like. It just feels like it's just gotten ridiculous. Purdue, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's hard to understand the defense attorneys, and I've always had an issue with that myself. The bottom line is that everyone in this country is afforded a defense, a proper defense, and even those that are guilty. And I know how that feels to think, because I've had the same thoughts. Where are we all going to be at if this man ends up walking and getting away with this? I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to think it, but I have to, because I have to prepare myself for what may happen. Because he won't be the first one. He won't be the first one. Same thing, Stephanie. It absolutely wounded me to the core to read it and have to read it over and over again. And the terror that was in those two little girls' hearts that day when all of this happened to them, none of us can even begin to fathom. And that's, we don't talk enough about that. We don't talk enough about them. Everything is about Richard Allen. Everything is about the other players in this case. And we don't talk enough about the victims and what they lost, what they gave up, and it kind of just makes me angry. It makes me angry when people are comparing Richard Allen to being housed like a prisoner of war. He isn't even close to being housed like a prisoner of war. My uncle was a prisoner of war in World War II, and I'm here to tell you he was not even close to being a prisoner of war. So, I mean, it's to say that and to make those kind of comments are just, I agree with the prosecutor. It's to inflame the audience. Hey, GonZo, how are you, my dear? It's so good to see you. Big hugs. Big hugs. Hey, Aspen, how are you? Long time. Haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you, my friend. Yeah, Derek. I mean, it's, it's like that with all of our cases, you guys, and we have to remember this. And I will say it no matter who's listening and for how long, but we absolutely have to do better at remembering the victims of our cases. And oh, I'm so glad you're here, Aspen. So glad. Yeah. Our hats are off to you, GonZo. I gave you a huge shout out at the beginning of the show because you deserve it, and you worked hard, and I know your heart is heavy, and I get that. But justice is going to prevail, and I just feel that justice is going to prevail in this case. And we're going to talk about Suzanne here in just a minute. But yeah, we just need to do better, guys, and just remember, because we always are talking about the guys who do these crimes, and we forget about all of the collateral damage that is left in their wake. And there's so much. I know you are here for the justice, and we are behind you 100%. I cannot thank you enough for everything that you do behind the scenes for these cases. You keep up the good work. You keep up the good fight, because at the end of the day, what you do is so important. Working with that family and helping Suzanne's family try and find her all these years. I can't even imagine what her brother and her family are thinking right now. They're heartbroken, I know, but I'm sure that they are so thrilled to know that they're going to be able to lay her to rest in a way that she's actually deserving of, rather than just thrown away like garbage. I don't, Corgi Mama. I definitely do not. I do not believe that what they did, just the end that justifies the means. The only thing I can say to that is we haven't heard the court's response yet to all of this. I'm anxious to hear what Fran Gull is going to say about all of what was in this 134-page document. And I would love it if she admonishes the defense, because she is a smart woman. And if we can see the fact that they were sidestepping a gag order, guaranteed she's going to be able to see that. And, it's like, I don't know, there's just just so much. Guys, make sure you go out and check out Derek Farmer's YouTube channel. He started a new channel, and I was a guest on his show this past Saturday, and it was a great conversation. And he's a great guy. So please make sure that you check you guys go check him out. He's going to do great things. He's not doing a necessary true crime channel. It's going to be more of a variety channel, but I'm so happy for him. Oh, GonZo, we love you. We love you. I need to have you on my show again soon. I miss your face. But so while GonZo's here, we might as well go ahead and cover Suzanne. So as you guys know, they found Suzanne last Friday and they identified her on Wednesday, yesterday. They identified her remains. And she went missing on Mother's Day in 2020. Suzanne was 49 years old and supposedly she vanished while on a bike ride. But there is so much more to this case than meets the eye. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation announced yesterday that Suzanne's remains were found in Saugatuck County, and it's located in the southwestern part of the state, part of Colorado. It's about 45 minutes from Suzanne's home. While this case has garnered tons of attention from around the world over the last 3 years, it really touched the community where she lived and the sheriff's office there deeply. And Chaffee County Sheriff John Spazey said that they never stopped their investigation and they're going to continue to follow all leads in pursuit of justice for Suzanne. And they're not planning a press conference, which doesn't surprise me at all, considering where we are. Spazey said, although locating Suzanne's remains is a critical component of this investigation, and for her family, we are left with many more questions than answers, and it would be a disservice to conduct a news conference at this time. They did not make any arrests yesterday, and they haven't made any arrests today that I'm aware of. Nancy Grace came out and said she believed this day would come. Like many, she felt deep sorrow, but at the same time, deep anger. And I think we all are there with that same kind of emotion. And the only thing we can do is to continue to champion for justice for Suzanne. So for those of you in here that are not familiar with the Suzanne Morphew case, prosecutors initially alleged that her husband, Barry Morphew, murdered her after she made a decision to leave him. And in April of 2022, right before he was to stand trial for her murder, the prosecutor in the case asked the judge to drop and dismiss the murder charges in April of 2022. Text messages from Suzanne that was released in June suggested that she was having an affair while she was with Barry. In a March 7th, 2020 text message to Jeff Libler, who's been described as a high school flame of Suzanne's, wrote, "Nobody loves you like the way I do. I crave time with you. I crave the feeling I get when we connect, physically or emotionally. You are my guy, always." Iris Eaton is Barry's attorney, and he said at the time that her client didn't know about Suzanne's 2-year affair with Libler, who she claims hasn't been fully investigated by law enforcement, but law enforcement completely denies that. In fact, the day that Suzanne died, they believe that Barry came home and found Suzanne talking to Mr. Liebler with video chatting, and that's what led to her murder. They have so much evidence, but his cell phone pinged outside of their home, and it was moving in a very strange and erratic manner. And he said that he was running around outside the house shooting chipmunks because they were a nuisance. And he had only been home for a short time, like few minutes. And we were like, what? The chipmunk defense? Is that what this is going to be about? And when the police arrived, there was no evidence of any dead chipmunks that had been shot by him. And they firmly believe that he was chasing his wife around the house, outside the house, trying to shoot her with a dart gun that he used to use to shoot deer, to put them down or asleep, however you want to put it, to cut off their antlers, which is against the law, by the way. But obviously this guy doesn't give a crap. He moved to Colorado and saw all the elk and deer. And one of the first comments he made was, I'm going to have those antlers. I mean, if you look at the pictures that were taken inside of his garage, there's just a ton of antlers. In March of 2020, 2 months before she disappeared, Suzanne texted Barry saying that they needed to figure this out civilly. She basically told him she wanted out. Her and Jeff had talked about being together and even leaving the country and moving away. He filed a lawsuit against the prosecutors on May 2nd of this year, with his lawyers arguing that he has suffered the indignity of being wrongfully arrested, jailed, prosecuted for a crime he did not commit. And he filed this lawsuit for $15 million. And one of Suzanne's close and dearest friends said that the lawsuit is bogus. It should have no bearing on this case. So we'll have to wait and see. They have also filed a complaint against the prosecutor in this case. The 11th Judicial District Attorney, Linda Stanley, told Fox 31's Denver in a statement that the potential filing of a complaint against an attorney is not equivalent to the attorney engaging in any misconduct, and anyone can file a complaint against a lawyer with the Office of Attorney Regulation Counsel, and that's what they did. So this is an ongoing story that we are just going to have to continue to watch. There's just a lot going on. And yeah, we'll just have to keep our eyes and ears open and just pray for justice. Now that they have her body, it was said that the prosecution that's what they were waiting for. They needed to have her body. They are able to recharge him if they need to. And so, which is a good thing. When they dropped the charges, they left it open to where they could charge him again. And That is awesome, Gonzo. I know you will. I know you will. Be safe out there when you're doing that, please. That's all I ask. It's funny. I'm not sure, Lisa. I don't know, but my hands are right here. And that's the other thing about her clothing. Barry said he left his wife in bed asleep, and I want to know what she was wearing when they found her. Was she wearing a bathing suit? Was she not wearing any clothing? Was she in pajamas? Thank you, my dear. I know you will. I know you will. I'm so glad you're here. We've all missed you. It'll be telling what she was wearing, Aspen, for sure. I absolutely believe that whole thing he said about them having a nice, quiet dinner and that they went to bed and made love, I believe that's all a lie. I don't believe that at all. I believe he came home and found her on webcam with her lover, and we know how volatile of a situation that could possibly be. That's what I think. But who knows? We will have to wait and see. I could be completely wrong. So, just so much going on. There's just a lot. I mean, I'm so glad to see that these cases are getting ready to come to some sort of a conclusion, because the other case that I told you about at the beginning with Crystal Rogers, they made an arrest yesterday in her case, and she disappeared in 2015. He was charged with her murder and tampering with physical evidence, according to the court documents. His bond was set at $10 million cash. And he has also been ordered not to have any contact with Crystal Rogers' family. He was her boyfriend at the time of her disappearance and has been considered the main suspect in her case since the very beginning. His property had been searched multiple times. She was a Bardstown mother who disappeared. She was the mother of 5, and it's been 8 long years. He was in court last year when he was arrested for multiple traffic violations. But now he is in custody for the charges relating to her murder. They have sealed the indictment, and additional details will be revealed at his arraignment on the 5th of October in Nelson County Superior Court. So just so you guys know, Crystal Rogers disappeared in Bardstown, Kentucky 8 years ago. And despite numerous search warrants and interviews over the years, there has been little to shed light on this case. In August of 2020, the FBI did take over her case. 3 years later, they made their first arrest in connection to the investigation. In August of 2023, a Nelson County man, Joseph Lawson, was arrested in connection to Crystal Rogers' disappearance. He was indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence. News of his arrest was released on September 7th. Soon after the first arrest, WHAS 11 investigative journalist Shay McAllister released a story on a possible link between Joseph Lawson and Brooks Houck. Authorities arrested Houck without incident yesterday morning and has since been booked. He has since been booked into multiple jails. He has 3 different mugshots and 2 are in orange jumpsuits. By word of mouth and social media, I think the entire community that was following Crystal's case heard the news. Thrilled and just thank goodness, a lifelong Bardstown resident, Donna Belinko, said, "Finally, some justice coming. Lock him up." Former Bardstown mayor and the current Nelson County historian Dixie Hibbs described the moments following Houck's arrest Wednesday morning when the telephone was ringing all over town. People are relieved knowing that he is now in custody. Now, is he guilty or not? That'll have to be taken up in court, Hibbs said. But Hibbs has witnessed a community in agony, waiting for answers and arrest. Now they've seen 2 in just over a month. And FBI Louisville office issued this statement after his arrest. In coordination with Kentucky State Police, other local and federal law enforcement partners, the FBI Louisville office has been laser focused on our commitment to hold accountable those that were responsible for the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. Today, we take the first step in making good on that promise. FBI Louisville and the Kentucky State Police have arrested Brooks Houck without incident on charges stemming from the Crystal Rogers investigation. The Houck indictment remains sealed and additional details will be revealed during Houck's arraignment in early October in the Nelson County Circuit Court. The Ellis family statement on the arrest today represents a significant milestone in the lives of so many. It is hard to express the many emotions our family is feeling. We have prayed fervently for 8 years that this day would come. The strength, bravery, and fidelity Sherry has exhibited these past 8 years has continually renewed our family's resolve. Today we rejoice with Sherry Ballard and Crystal's family and friends. The announcement of today's arrest is one we have all hoped and prayed for. It has been 10 disconcerting years since Jason's murder. Moving forward with no answers or justice has been disheartening. We applaud the FBI, law enforcement, and prosecutors for countless hours and unrelenting dedication to these cases in Bardstown and Nelson County. Today, we celebrate that justice is being served for Crystal and are optimistic that answers are around the corner for Jason. The Kentucky Senator Jimmy Higdon had a statement on Crystal's case. Crystal Rogers' disappearance is a cross the Rogers and Ballard family has had to bear for almost a decade. And that suffering has been compounded by more questions than answers as to why she's no longer with us. I hope the latest developments in this case will finally lead to answers for the community, justice for Crystal, and closure for the family. My prayers remain with the Rogers and Ballard family and all who have struggled throughout this case. I ask everyone to join in and continue to show love and support for those hunting and hurting, and all the law enforcement agencies working so hard to find truth behind Crystal's disappearance. So yeah, one of the things I want to say, you guys, is we need to stop using the word closure in these cases because these families will never have closure. I hate that word. I hate that word. This will be with them for the rest of their lives. There is no closure when someone you love is murdered and taken from you, or they're stolen away and you never see them again and you don't find them and you don't know what happened to them. So, awesome, Aspen. I'd love it. Just let me know when. I'd love to do a stream with you. I'm just happy that there's been movement in these cases. The fact that they're finally testing the 5 items from the JonBenet Ramsey case leads me to hope that we could have resolution maybe sometime next year in her case. I'm hopeful. I'm just really hopeful. There has been so much that's happened with DNA and DNA testing just in the last 5 years that it's time. It's just time. No kidding, GonZo. A lot to unpack. A lot. I mean, just, yeah, there is, but with that being said, there are a lot of things that surround the Delphi case too, that lead a person to wonder. We have to remember we have deceased police officers. We have a polygrapher, an Indiana State police officer polygrapher who polygraphed the Delphi case, witnesses and POIs in the Delphi case, whose house went up in flames, and she and her 16-year-old daughter died in that fire, which to this day is still unexplained. There's just a lot, you guys, there's a lot of questions out there. Whether or not it's all, going to boil down to what the heck's going on, does this have anything to do with anything? There's still just a lot of unanswered questions. There's an old email recovered in the Natalie Holloway case that implicates the Vandersloots disposed of Natalie's body. I firmly believed that all along. I thought his dad, to me, it was similar to what happened in the Kristen Smart case. Daddy came to his rescue and helped him dispose of her. And I've always felt that about Natalie, sadly. And yeah. I don't know that we're going to ever know what happened to Natalie, but whatever happened to her happened at the hands of Jordan Vandersloot. Joran Vandersloot. I absolutely believe that. And I believe that his dad helped him. So, yeah. Very interesting. Crazy, crazy stuff, you guys. Crazy stuff. But yeah, lots of cases being solved. I saw somebody back earlier. Anybody remember who posted about Iowa and the Evansdale girls? Stephanie. Yes. I'm praying for Flora and for Evansdale as well. Evansdale needs to get solved as well as Flora. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've always heard, you guys have probably heard it too, but the wheels of justice turn slowly. And for those of us that follow the cases so closely, follow the workings of the judicial process, we all know that this is not a snap of the fingers and these cases are solved. What seems obvious on the outside looking in is not always the case. And these detectives and law enforcement partners that are working these cases to help solve them, it can be daunting. And it's hours and hours and hours of canvassing and talking to people and interviewing people and then comparing those interviews and comparing those notes. And everything has to fall into place just right for it to be resolved. And these people are human beings and they make errors. Things can get forgotten, things can get misplaced. And I think it's funny how hypercritical people are to the profession and how quickly we are to judge at how awful law enforcement is and how much of screw ups they are because we could do it better. Well, if we could do it better, or you feel you could do it better, I think you should go apply to be a law enforcement officer, because guess what? They are in dire need of law enforcement officers in this country. They are all working with skeleton crews trying to get through what they need to get through. And they need people like you that have those kinds of attitudes. And I'm not saying it for anyone in my chat specifically or anything. I'm saying it for those of you that'll comment on my video or comment and say, law enforcement is completely botched the cases and blah, 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 blah. And it's, it's, you are so right, Espen. A lot of people do have a TikTok attention span. They seem to believe a case has gone cold if it's not solved within the first month, as if there's an injustice happening. I go back to Idaho, you guys, and what happened in the Idaho murders case. Stop and think about what they were able to do within 6 weeks of that murder. They made an arrest, you guys. That's huge. Huge. And look at all the flack they were taking from the public, who said that they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have any ideas. And all the time behind the scene, they knew exactly what they were doing because they were on to him so quickly after the murders. It doesn't always happen that way. That was a fluke that happened so fast. And the other thing, talking about these cases, I wanted to bring up, especially about Suzanne. 8 times out of 10, it's the person who's the closest to the victim. Boyfriend, significant other, husband. 8 times out of 10. Now, with Suzanne, they said that they found an unknown male's DNA on the glove box of her truck, or of her was it her Land Rover? I think she had a Land Rover. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that the defense was all over, was who is this person? Who's this unknown person's DNA? Just remember, there's a lot of explanations for a lot of things that sometimes don't come to mind until you sit down and put it all on a board and look at it and there has been many a spouse out there that have paid others to do their bidding, to try to keep their hands clean. So, but there are so many missing and unsolved cases in this country. It's crazy. You can't cover them all, and it's sad. It's how do you pick and choose what cases should get coverage, and what cases can you talk about? And there's times when I feel like I just hit and miss and I don't do them justice, because when I stop and think of the 20 notebooks I now have full of Delphi information and notes and everything from the last 6 years of this case, I think to myself, have I put that much effort into or focus into any of the other cases? I haven't. Oh yes, Cindy, I know I'm on my soapbox tonight. I'm sorry. Thank you, Deb. I love you. I love you. I try. I do try, and I think getting their name out there is the first thing we have to do. We have to get their names out there to where they become important to other people, to where other people will tune in. And there is a great 48 hours on Suzanne Morphew. If you guys really want to know about Suzanne's case, they downloaded that 48 hours to YouTube last night, like around 8:00. So if you guys really want to update yourself on Suzanne's case and all the inner workings and stuff of what happened with Suzanne Morphew, watch the 48 hours. Sorry. My hair is it's all sweaty from working out, and I'm in a desperate need of a shower. But I wanted to be here instead, so that's just going to have to wait. So I will announce again that my intent and all of my intentions are to be in Delphi on October 21st, the Saturday, for the memorial walk for Abby and Libby. I look forward to being able to meet anyone who's going to be there. It's about time. I feel like I should have done this before. Unfortunately, I wasn't physically well enough to go. Oh, Derek, I hope you can make it. It'll be awesome to see you. And I know Frank's going to be there, and I can't wait to get to meet Frank. And Deb's going to be there, and Purdue RN's going to be there, and of course Randy. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm planning on coming on early Saturday morning before the walk, and I'm going to stay overnight till Sunday, probably Sunday afternoon. So that's my plan at this point, Deb. It's about a 2.5 hour drive for me. So I figure that'll be good. Because I want to be able to spend some time with you and catch up and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to you and Purdue. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had for you guys tonight. I I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're staying out of the drama field in Delphineville, because I know there's a lot out there. But just try to remember when these motions and things drop that this isn't a court of law, and we're not hearing all the evidence. We're not hearing everything. We still to this day have not heard everything in this case that the prosecution has. Oh, Aspen, so can I. we might light up the town. Oh, geez. Oh, heavens. Oh, it sounds awesome, Purdue. Sounds like a plan, my dear. It sounds like a plan. I'm excited. I can't wait. I do on occasion, not very often. And I think that that's why I've always been told that my dad used to say back in the day that I was a cheap drunk because one drink and I was meh. But yeah, since I don't drink very often, alcohol tends to really, really affect me quickly. But yeah. And now since I had my surgery, I'm not supposed to have any alcohol, because I'm here to tell you, we're talking, the absorption would be super fast and I would be I'd be in big trouble. Oh my God. Oh, Derek, you are so funny. Oh, Aspen, you should come. You're probably super busy with the salon and stuff, but you should still come. We want you to come. Be with us. We'll party together. We'll celebrate the girls. We'll celebrate those two beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girls. But anyway, guys, Aspen, I have missed you. It is good to see you. You always make me smile. And be careful, Derek. Don't twist it behind his back too hard. He's not into pain. Oh, good Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. And so Deb's got a dungeon. Huh. I may have to rethink this whole trip. Oh, my gosh. Okay, that sounds like a plan, Aspen. I'll send you an email. And oh God. Is Ray still in the basement, Deb? Oh. Funny, guys. All right, well, I'm going to hop out of here. I got things that I need to do. I have a football game tomorrow night with my middle grandson. You guys all know that he made the football team as their kicker. And so I have a game tomorrow night with him. And I have a 2-year-old's birthday party on Sunday, and there is just a lot going on right now. So I have to get off of here and get to it, but I will talk to you guys all very soon, I promise. And it sounds like Aspen and I are going to be doing a live stream, so I'm looking forward to that. I always look forward to being able to spend time with him. So he always has a lot of good information. So you guys, take care, everyone. And just remember what I always tell you, be kind. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. And I feel amazing, you guys. I am getting my life back, and I'm getting myself back. The pandemic did me no favors, and I was health-wise, emotionally, whatever. So I am feeling really good. Yes, many thanks to GonZo for being here. Love him dearly. And for all of you, all of my moderators, Tech Death Hippie, thank you so much for being here. I miss you. I miss you. I miss you. And thanks to everyone who comes and hangs out with me. I appreciate you. Love to all of you. Talk to you soon.